They say the truth always comes out in the dark. Mine came out at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, whispered into the pillow beside my ear, in a voice I thought belonged only to me. One word, one name, one syllable that detonated 7 years of marriage like a bomb wired under our bed the entire time. My name is Nathan Whitlock. I'm 34 years old. I work as a structural engineer in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and until that Tuesday night, I genuinely believed my wife Sloane was the safest place I had ever known. By Wednesday morning, I had her suitcases on the porch, her wedding ring in a Ziploc bag on the kitchen counter, and a locksmith on his way. If you've ever loved someone so completely that you stop checking for the knife, this story is for you. Stay with me until the end, because what she did 3 weeks later is the part nobody believes until I show them the proof. I met Sloane Marbury on a rainy October afternoon in 2017 at a bookstore on Mount Vernon Road. She was reaching for the same beat-up copy of East of Eden that I was, and our fingers touched the spine at the exact same second. She laughed, a real laugh, not the performative kind, and told me I could have it if I promised to read it slowly. I promised. I kept that promise. I kept every promise I ever made to that woman. We got married 18 months later in a small ceremony at her parents' lake house in Wisconsin. 42 guests. Lemon cake. Her father cried during the toast, and her mother held my face in both hands and whispered, "You're the best thing that ever happened to her, Nathan. Don't let her forget it." I held those words like a compass for 7 years. We bought a 2-story Craftsman on Bever Avenue. We adopted a rescue beagle named Mr. Pickles. We tried for a baby for 2 years, lost one at 14 weeks, and held each other on the bathroom floor until the sun came up. I thought that night welded us together at a level nothing could ever pry apart. I was wrong. Whatever welded us, she had been quietly cutting through it for a long, long time. About 6 months before that Tuesday, Sloane started doing something small. She took her phone into the bathroom. Every time, even at 2 and when she got up for water, even when she was just brushing her teeth. I noticed. Of course, I noticed. But I'm not the kind of man who searches a woman's phone. My father drilled that into me before he died. A man who has to read her messages already knows the answer, son. He's just looking for permission to be a coward. So I didn't read them. I asked her, gently, one Sunday morning over coffee, "Babe, is everything okay? You seem somewhere else lately." She looked up from her oatmeal, and for half a second, I'll never forget this, her eyes did something I had never seen them do before. They went flat, like a window with the curtain pulled shut. Then she smiled, reached across the table, and squeezed my hand. "Nathan, I'm just stressed about the Henderson account. I love you. Stop being paranoid." I stopped being paranoid. That was my mistake. That was the moment I handed her the knife and told her where I sleep. Tuesday, March 11th. I remember the date because I had just finished reviewing blueprints for a hospital expansion in Iowa City, and I was exhausted in that specific way only a long workday can make. Sloane had cooked chicken piccata, my favorite, and lit the cinnamon candle she only ever lit on anniversaries. She wore the navy silk thing I bought her in Chicago. Looking back, I think she was trying to bury something. Guilty women cook. Guilty women light candles. Guilty women wear the lingerie you bought them in another city. We went upstairs. The bedroom was warm. Her hair smelled like that grapefruit shampoo she'd used since college. I was holding her face in my hands, my forehead against hers, telling her, and I meant every word, that she was the love of my entire life. And then she whispered it. Connor. One word. 2 syllables. Spoken into the half-inch of air between her mouth and my ear. The world stopped. Genuinely stopped. My hands were still on her face, but I couldn't feel her skin anymore. I couldn't feel anything. There's a kind of silence that happens inside your chest when reality breaks. It's not loud, it's not cinematic. It's just a very polite hollow opening up where your heart used to be. I pulled back. Slowly, I looked at her. "What did you just call me?" Her eyes flickered, that same flat, curtain-drawn look from 6 months ago. She let out a small, brittle laugh, the kind people use when they're trying to convince themselves nothing happened. "Oh my God, babe." "I didn't. Nathan. That was nothing. That was just a slip. It happens. It happens." 3 words. In the entire English language, I don't think there are 3 words more violent than those, spoken in that bed, in that moment, by that woman. It happens, like she'd spilled coffee, like she'd forgotten to take out the trash. Like 7 years of my devotion was an inconvenient stain on her Tuesday night. I rolled off her. I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark, and I asked her, because I already knew, but I needed to hear it leave her mouth, "Who is Connor?" She sat up, pulling the sheet against her chest like she suddenly needed protection from me. From me. From the man who slept beside her every night for 7 years and never once raised his voice. "He's nobody, Nathan. He's an old name. From before you. You're being insane." Sloan, my voice was quieter than I had ever heard it. "Who is Connor?" She started crying. Not the soft cry, the performative cry, the cry that's really an argument wearing a costume. "He's my college boyfriend. Okay? From Madison. I haven't seen him in years, Nathan. It was a slip of the tongue. Why are you doing this?" I stood up. I walked to her nightstand. I picked up her phone, the phone I had never once touched in 7 years of marriage, and I held it out to her. "Open it. Nathan. Open it." She didn't open it. She just stared at me, sheet still clutched to her chest, mascara running down her face. And in her silence, I heard everything she would never have to say out loud. 6 months of bathroom phone calls. 6 months of late nights at the Henderson account. 6 months of a different perfume on the collar of her work blazer that I had pretended not to smell because pretending was easier than asking. I set the phone down. I walked to the closet. I pulled out the small green suitcase she'd bought for our honeymoon in Santorini, and I started packing it for her. Calmly. Folded. The way she taught me to fold. "Nathan, what are you doing?" "You said it happened, Sloan." My voice didn't shake. I was proud of that. Later. "So this is what happens." This is exactly what happens. I carried that suitcase down the stairs at 12:23 a.m. I set it on the porch. I went back upstairs and got the second one. Then her makeup bag. Then her laptop. Then the framed photo of her grandmother she kept on the dresser. Because I am not a cruel man, and that photo wasn't mine to keep. She followed me down the stairs in my old engineering t-shirt, screaming, sobbing, switching tactics every 30 seconds. First it was rage. "You can't do this to me." Then it was bargaining. "Please. Nathan, we can fix this. I'll go to therapy." Then it was the worst one. The one that almost broke me. She dropped to her knees in the foyer and grabbed the bottom of my shirt and looked up at me with the same eyes that had once promised me forever in front of 42 people. And a lemon cake. And she whispered, "Nathan, please, I love you. I have only ever loved you." And God help me, I almost folded. I almost knelt down. I almost said okay. But then I remembered her voice in my ear. Connor. The casual ease of it. The way it slid out of her like it had been sitting on her tongue for months, just waiting for the wrong moment. I gently took her hands off my shirt. I helped her stand up. I walked her to the front door, and I said the only thing I had left in me. Sloane, you didn't lose me tonight. You lost me a long time ago. Tonight is just when I found out. I closed the door. I locked it. I slid down the inside of that door, and I sat on the hardwood floor, and Mr. Pickles climbed into my lap and pressed his head against my chest, and for the first time in my adult life, I cried like a child who had lost his mother. The next morning, I called a locksmith. I called my brother Wesley in Des Moines. I called a divorce attorney named Margaret Halloran, whose number my coworker had given me a year ago, just in case, and I had laughed at the time and put it in my wallet anyway. Some part of me, apparently, had been preparing for this longer than I'd been willing to admit. By 4 p.m. Wednesday, the locks were changed. By 6 p.m., Wesley was on my couch with a pizza and a bottle of bourbon and the kind of silence only a brother can give you. He didn't ask questions. He just sat there. For 3 hours. Just sat there. Sloane sent 47 text messages that first day. I read none of them. I had her parents' number blocked by Friday, not because I didn't love them, but because her mother had called me sobbing, and I couldn't tell yet whether she was crying for her daughter or for me, and I didn't have the strength to find out. For 2 weeks, I lived inside a fog. I went to work. I came home. I fed Mr. Pickles. I slept on the couch because our bed still smelled like grapefruit shampoo, and I couldn't bear to wash the sheets because washing them felt like erasing the last piece of evidence that any of it had ever been real. 3 weeks after I put her on the porch, I got a certified letter. It wasn't from Sloane. It was from a woman named Bryn Castellano in Madison, Wisconsin. I had never heard the name in my life. The letter was 4 pages long, handwritten, on yellow legal paper. I'm going to tell you what was in it, and I need you to understand, I have the letter in a safe deposit box. I have the photographs she included. I have everything. Bryn Castellano was Connor's wife. Connor, the Connor, was not some old college boyfriend Sloane hadn't seen in years. Connor Castellano was a regional sales manager who had been flying into Cedar Rapids once every 6 weeks for the past 2 years for a contract with Sloane's firm. 2 years. Bryn had found out the same week I did. She'd found a hotel receipt from the Hilton on Collins Road in her husband's jacket pocket. She'd hired a private investigator. The investigator had taken photographs. She mailed me copies because, in her words on page 3 of that letter, Nathan, I don't know you, but I know what it is to be the last person in your own marriage to find out the truth. I am not writing this to hurt you. I am writing this because you deserve to know that what happened in your bed was not a slip of the tongue. It was a habit she forgot to hide. I sat at my kitchen table and I read that letter 4 times. And then I did something I am not proud of, but I am not ashamed of either. I picked up the phone. I called Sloane. The first time in 21 days, she answered on the first ring. Her voice was so hopeful it made me sick. Nathan? Nathan, oh my God, baby, Sloane. I said it calmly. Bryn says hello. There was a silence on the other end of that phone, so complete, so absolute, that I could hear her stop breathing. I will remember that silence for the rest of my life. It was the sound of a woman realizing the floor she'd been standing on for 2 years had never actually existed. I hung up. I never spoke another word to her again. The divorce was finalized 7 months later. Iowa is a no-fault state, but Margaret Halloran is a very good attorney, and the photographs Bryn Castellano sent me, combined with the hotel records Margaret subpoenaed, made the financial settlement go in a direction Sloane had not been expecting. I kept the house on Bever Avenue. I kept Mr. Pickles. I kept my dignity, which for a long stretch of those 7 months felt like the only thing I had left. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I'm okay now. I'm telling you this story almost a year later, and there are still nights I wake up at 2 a.m. and reach across the bed for a woman who isn't there, and then remember why she isn't. There, and a hollow opens up in my chest all over again, the same one that opened the first time I heard the name Connor in my own bedroom. But I want to tell you 3 things. 3 things I learned, because if you're watching this, if any part of this story sounds like a Tuesday night you're afraid is coming for you, I need you to hear them. 1. When your gut tells you something is wrong, your gut is not paranoid. Your gut is the last loyal friend you have left. Listen to it. I ignored mine for 6 months, and it cost me 2 years of my life I will never get back. 2. It happens is not an apology. It happens as a confession dressed up as a dismissal. When someone you love minimizes the thing that just broke you, believe them. They are telling you exactly how much you matter to them. 3, and this is the one I want you to write down somewhere. Walking away is not the same as giving up. Some people will tell you that real love fights through anything. They are wrong. Real love doesn't ask you to stay in a bed where someone else's name lives. Real love doesn't ask you to swallow a betrayal because the betrayer cried prettier than you did. Real love builds you. It does not bury you and tell you the dirt is for your own good. I still have the copy of East of Eden she handed me in that bookstore on Mount Vernon Road. It's on my nightstand. I haven't been able to throw it away, and I'm not sure I ever will. Some scars aren't meant to disappear. Some scars are maps. They show you the road you walked out on, so you never accidentally walk back in. Sloan remarried last month. I heard through a mutual friend. It wasn't Connor. Connor went back to Bryn, apparently, and they're working on it, whatever that means. Sloan married a dentist from Davenport. I hope, genuinely, that she means it this time. I hope she lights the cinnamon candle for him and cooks the chicken piccata for him and whispers his name, and only his name, into the dark. But mostly, I hope the dentist sleeps lightly. Because I learned something in that bed on March 11th that I will carry for the rest of my life. The person who whispers another name into your ear once will whisper yours into someone else's eventually. That is not a curse. That is just the math of who they are. I'm Nathan Whitlock. Mr. Pickles is asleep on my feet as I record this. The house on Bever Avenue is mine. The bed is mine. The silence is mine. And for the first time in a very long time, the silence is not lonely. It's just quiet. And quiet, I'm finally learning, is not the same thing as empty. If this story reached you tonight, if you're sitting in your car or your kitchen, or a bed that doesn't feel safe anymore, I want you to know something. You are not crazy. You are not paranoid. You are not asking for too much. You are simply someone who deserved the truth, and the truth is on its way to you, whether you want it or not. When it arrives, don't argue with it. Don't bargain with it. Don't fold its suitcase the gentle way and put it on your porch hoping it'll come back kinder. Just open the door. Let it walk in. And then, when it's done, lock the door behind it. You'll be all right. I promise you, you'll be all right. I was. If this story moved you, if it found you at the right moment, leave one word in the comments. Quiet. That's how I'll know you made it to the end. That's how I'll know you heard me. And if you're going through something similar right now, I'm reading every single comment tonight. You are not alone in the dark. Not tonight. Not on my watch.